Welcome to our community conversations on discovering McCall and the West Central Mountains. I'm Dr. Bryan Williams, president of McCall College, and I'll serve as moderator of this series. McCall College is a local, specialized college offering meaningful education to people of all ages. The motto of the series that we're a part of now is Local Voices Addressing Local Issues. And the issue that we're working on now is helping our newcomers succeed. Many new people arrive in our region. For them, orienting to a rural area in Idaho is difficult. This series will help help newcomers as they are discovering McCall and our region. And we'll be bringing to you local voices who will seek to offer crucial advice in the discovery process. And we hope also that our existing residents will discover local features that they might have missed. This is week 4 of our 6 conversations, and we're pleased to introduce to you 2 people that will help us tonight. Aana Vannoy is Senior Vice President of Idaho First Bank, and Amber Maupin is also with her today. The conversation will center around succeeding at rural finances. Welcome, Aana and Amber.
Thanks for having us, Bryan.
It is nice to have you, and I appreciate you taking out of your very busy time to be a part of our conversation tonight. So thank you. Aana, would you introduce yourself and your family and why you enjoy living in McCall?
You bet. So I'm Aana Vannoy. My husband Luke and I have been living here in McCall since 2003. We're raising an 11-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son. And honestly, I can't imagine living anywhere else. We chose McCall because it's beautiful. But also, it's got amazing access to outdoor activities. We love to spend as much time as we can outside, but we also chose it because of the pace and because of the people. So really feel like McCall is full of good people, very friendly people, and raising children here, we feel really grateful to have access to a good school system, quality health care. There's not many negatives to being here. We've been very lucky to end up here and feel fortunate to call it home.
That's pretty impressive introduction, not only of yourself, but of McCall. Amber, how are we doing? Give us a little of who you are and why you enjoy McCall.
I am Amber Maupin. I am the residential mortgage lender for Idaho First Bank. I grew up in McCall. And when I graduated, I moved away, went to college for a little bit, and even though I stayed in Idaho, it was not quite like McCall. So I ended up moving back because of kind of all the same reasons, just the small town feel, the community, the way that people treat each other here is something different than a lot of other communities that I was a part of while I was in school. So I chose to come back here. I live here with my husband, Jacob, and we have 2 kids who are in the school system here now. And we love it. We love the outdoor activities, and we just love McCall.
What are the ages of your kids?
They are 7 years old and 9 years old.
7 and 9.
Yeah.
So they're close.
Yeah.
Aana, tell us about your role in McCall and in the region.
You bet. So I'm the senior vice president and area market leader for Idaho First Bank. I started with the bank when we first opened in 2005. Started actually as a credit analyst, and today I oversee leadership and management for the McCall and New Meadows markets, including lending and branch operations. We're in 7 markets now. And one of the things I really appreciate about working for Idaho First Bank is our approach is unique to each specific market. So we don't have a one-size-fits-all approach, and that's really benefited my customers in McCall and New Meadows. I work with a great group of people, and it's been a good place to be for the last almost 17 years now.
Now, your bank headquarters is McCall, and your and your main administrative branch is McCall.
That's right.
This is there's only 3,000 people here.
Yeah.
How do you build a bank when you start with a base of 3,000 people?
Right. Well, our original founder was living in McCall. He had started a bank in Ketchum previously, and so he gathered local shareholders and decided that this is something they really wanted to do in McCall, offer community banking, and it's just grown from there. We were really successful in McCall. It does remain our headquarters, and then we just expanded into other markets because it worked well.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah,
I mean, it's
been a
sort
great
of a
place
crazy
to be.
story.
It is.
I mean, if you went to any 3,000 size city, town really, in America, how many would have a bank that serves its
unique.
community? That's wonderful. Help us, Amber, with your role here in McCall and the region.
So I started at Idaho First Bank a little over 4 years ago now. I started as a teller and moved up to a new accounts person, went into some consumer lending, and am now the residential mortgage lender. I started that in December. So I've kind of been what Idaho First Bank started as, is we want to hire local and we want to hire people in our community that are willing to start at the bottom and work their way up and support families of those that want to be here and want to work for it. And so I feel proud to be part of that.
I'm going to pull a question because I think it's also our role here in McCall, and that's, do you serve in any other organizations outside of Idaho First? And I say that because our newcomers need to know about these organizations that we are serving on. And so I'm going to just sort of try and draw a bit out. What other ways do you serve in our region, and what are those roles? Aana, do you want to start with that a little bit?
You bet. So right now I'm serving on the St. Luke's Taxing District Board. And in that board, I serve on a number of committees within St. Luke's. So I work with the Quality and Safety Committee, and then some funding work groups to help determine where we're going to utilize tax dollars that we collect to help support our communities and St. Luke's as well. Mm-hmm. And let's see, I just joined a new committee. I can't believe that I can't pull that, but I do think. At some point
in the evening,
right?
You can let us know.
Yeah, that's a new one. But I do think, it's the community board, the St. Luke's Community Board.
Oh,
and that's been, it's really beneficial. I think it's really helpful to know what else is going on in the community. Yes. In the past, I've worked with the Education Foundation. I've served on the Rotary Board. As newcomers come to our community, I would absolutely encourage them to get involved and contribute. There's a lot of great nonprofits in our area, and I think it's a really great way to just get engaged with the community. And then, as we experience some of the growth that we're going through, it's a great way to figure out how to utilize your voice and have some productive conversations about things you're concerned about or passionate about and want to contribute towards.
Thank you. Amber, where are you participating in our community?
I am actually a member on a couple of different boards. I am part of the YAC Association, so the Youth Advocacy Coalition, which is a great organization, especially when you have littler kids in the community. It kind of gives you that voice. And then I also serve on the YCAP Youth Service Advisory for their health services. Mm-hmm. So we basically meet and go over just the community issues when it comes to younger children in the community and health services that either need to be here or that are doing well here, so that we can all help each smaller community gather the right information to be able to bring new programs. And then I am on the Progressive Club as well. I'm a member of the Progressive Club here in McCall. So a little bit of everywhere.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Just a little hint. The lights that we're using were donated to the college by the Progressive Club.
Yeah.
And so all these organizations are really partners in improving our community in important ways. And my goodness, did this broadcast improve when we got a little bit of help to do these lights. So again, thank you
Yeah,
for your
it's
service
nice.
there and how that interweaves with all of our work here in the community. Thank you for that. Aana, what's the most important issue concerning newcomers that you'd like to address?
Housing is such a huge issue in our area now, and it has been for some time, right? It's really impacting our business's ability to attract and retain employees, and it's having a huge impact on our community members too. Most of our businesses are experiencing staffing shortages. I think with the remote, the work from anywhere trend, we have new residents coming in and not filling jobs, and then they're out competing locals for housing just where prices are right now. So it's adding some stress in our area for sure. We're seeing businesses have to close some days during the week. I think we're seeing some business fatigue, some employee fatigue, just as they deal with those staffing shortages, the challenges around not having enough employees, and then in light of the growth. So, when it comes to newcomers, that is something that I would really encourage is some patience and some awareness. I think our businesses are doing a remarkable job given the challenges. And it's not an easy thing to solve, right? It's going to take some time. It's going to need to come from multiple groups. It's a big challenge without an end in sight right now.
Is there a story that might illustrate that problem from your perspective?
Yeah, I have a couple actually. I do talk to businesses weekly with my role at the bank about the stress that they're experiencing with not having enough staff. I talked to a business owner, I think it's been about 3 weeks ago, and he indicated he was going to sell his business. He said, I can't deal with it anymore. He had lost 4 employees as their rentals had sold and they had to leave the area entirely. And then he had 2 other employees that just decided they were going to realize some of the price appreciation, sell their homes and move to a market where it was a little bit more affordable to live. So, he's at a point where he's fatigued and working too much, and they're just going to opt to try to sell the business right now. St. Luke's McCall is another good example of what's going on. They currently have 60 open positions, permanent and traveling positions that they've been unable to fill. And that has a significant impact in our community. They've actually extended job offers to applicants, and then they've had those offers turned down when they've been unable to secure housing. So they've made some steps to try to solve that. They recently purchased a building with residential apartments, but it'll take some time before they can realize that benefit because they're honoring the leases that are in place. So it's good to see some of the larger businesses work towards a solution, but it's not something some of our smaller businesses can solve by putting in employee housing right now with costs, a price of land and construction costs where they are.
Significant issue. Thank you for highlighting that one first. And Aana, I'm going to stay with you. Help us understand the challenges of our banks as we emerge from this phase of the pandemic. How is your bank doing and banking in general as a result of the pandemic?
Yeah, this is a really interesting time after this phase of the pandemic. So I think because of the stimulus and because people were on lockdown, a little bit more cautious with spending, as we emerge from this phase, we're seeing a lot of liquidity in the banking system. So,
and what does that mean?
Well, that just means there's a lot of deposits. So there's a lot of cash right now. People significantly increased their savings in general, but with that, we saw a lot less robust loan growth. So in a rising interest rate environment where we have less loan growth, which is where banks make their money, and more deposits, which is what banks typically pay to have, not much lately, we're going to see that shift. That adds some strain on profitability. So that's the banking industry in general. What's interesting is in Idaho, banks have been less impacted by that low loan growth. So as we've had so much in-migration, Idaho as a state has grown substantially, right? There's been just a lot of growth. There's a lot of development. We've been less impacted, right? We've had strong loan growth. But I do think that there's going to be some volatility as the Fed raises interest rates. We're going to see a slowdown in our loan growth. We're going to see some of those deposit balances decline. Deposits are really important for us, right? That's what we utilize to make loans in our communities. And so it's going to be more important than ever. We're going to have to dedicate some additional resources. We're going to have to pay more for deposits, really do a better job of that asset liability management. But I think there's some good news too, right? There's some uncertainty as the feds try to pump the brakes a little bit on the economy. But I do think that we're coming from a time where banks' balance sheets, our balance sheet is very strong, and businesses' balance sheets are strong. So it's a different time than it was the last time we saw a slowdown in the economy. So I think there's still plenty to be optimistic about.
Oh, that's wonderful. With the reality of climbing interest rates in our near future, what should newcomers be aware of in a rural market that may surprise them? And assuming that many of our newcomers are coming in from an urban market.
You bet.
And so what's the rural market feel like as you land in the middle of it?
Well, I think we have some unique challenges in a rural market. This is an amazing place to live, but it can be a harder place to live too at times, right? We have a higher cost of living. We have some seasonality. We have limited availability of jobs, especially professional jobs. So, sometimes you have to be a little bit creative when it comes to finding a career or finding a way to make money. In light of those challenges, as interest rates rise, it's going to become more expensive to buy a car, to buy a home. I do think it's tough, right? It's important to keep in mind that interest rates were at an all-time low in 2020 and 2021. Ultra low interest rates. We have never seen interest rates that low in our history.
We may never, ever see them again.
We may never see them again. So it's not much consolation to someone looking to buy a house right now, but interest rates in the mid-5s creeping into 6, those are still considered low interest rates. I think more than interest rates, right? If people have saved, if it makes sense for them financially, where interest rates are today it shouldn't prevent them from buying a home. I think what we're dealing with right now, it's prices, right? Real estate values are so high. That's really what's going to make it difficult for people to buy a home. When we talk about rising interest rates, I think the thing to really pay attention to is variable interest rate loans, and especially things like credit card balances, right? Those are very high interest loans. Interest rates are going to go up. People will see those bills go up. We actually saw the largest reduction in credit card balances in 2020, but we're starting to see credit card balances creep up again. So not always something that people can do, especially as we're dealing with higher prices and some inflation. But if people can reduce those balances, if they can pay those off, that does really have, that lessens the impact of rising interest rates.
And so consumer experience, particularly in variable loans, I dare say is fairly light right now. And they'll need to sort of realize what that means. For those of us that have worked with variable loans, they get scary, especially we're in a rising rate environment. And you buy it today and then somewhere down the road, it becomes very, very difficult to manage. And so is any sort of off-the-cuff advice in that sense of, as you're looking, we have lots of experience with fixed, but these variables are coming onto the market now, and they're probably very strong because people can consider those. What's your advice as they think about the variable rate loans?
I would say approach cautiously, right? Make sure you know what you're getting into, understand how high those can go. Interest rates, we're going to see increases next week. We'll see some more increases in July. We've got very high likelihood of Feds raising rates both in June and July. So there are some reasons to get into variable rate interest loans. It just depends on what it is and how high those could go, and how long you're going to be in them too, right? Like if it's something that is a shorter term loan, I guess understanding what your reserves are.
And
and
lots
just
of
be
questions to the
careful.
bankers.
Yeah.
Don't
Yes.
be afraid to use your bankers as a new source of
Yeah,
information
absolutely.
on these variable techniques that can be
Yes.
used to finance housing and other costs.
Yeah, ask all the questions.
Can you give us a little bit of information on or just a sense? This is more of a sense, and that's the difference between the rural and the urban borrower. I don't know if you yourself were in an urban environment. I spent most of my life in urban environments and watching that. And so, what's your sense of the difference between those kinds of borrowings and things that they should be aware of as they try and negotiate a rural market?
Yeah, I think we tend to have more self-employed borrowers in a rural environment. I think that goes back to being creative, right?
Yep.
In the ways that you have to make money in a smaller area. One of the things that I do see is sometimes you have small business owners not having the highest quality of financial reporting. It's important, right? So if you're in between tax seasons and you want to go get a mortgage loan, you're going to have to be able to show where your income was for the last few months. So it is really important to have good quality financial reporting. So, some software system where you're recording your revenue and your expenses. It's not within all of our skill sets. So ask for help, right? So we've got, your banker will know some great bookkeepers if that's not, what you want to do. Yeah, absolutely. And then there's some great software programs out there, and there's some training available. There's resources out there. One of the other things we do see, which goes back to creatively earning some income, is we see a fair amount of startups. Startups present some unique challenges when it comes to financing because there's no previous history, there's no story about where income has come from and what profitability looks like. So generally, in that scenario, we have to pursue a loan through your bank and the Small Business Administration. There's some really great programs available through SBA, but they're cumbersome at best. They require some more effort. It's not an easy process. So I would really encourage anybody that's thinking about starting a new business, has recently started a new business, go talk to your bank. Utilize some of those resources. There's some good SBA experts, consultants that provide information for free. Just understand that there's some additional effort to be put forth, and just find a bank that'll walk you through that process.
I'd like to test out one sense that I've got in the difference of the rural to the urban. And my sense is we've built our economy on the second incomes in many of our households, that the spouse can bring a significant amount of income into the financial picture of a family. And I've seen it over and over again where that person that in an urban environment had fairly easy access to a second stream of revenue in their household, they come to McCall and they have this wonderful job that's the primary by one of the spouses, and then the secondary is nowhere what they expected. And that seems to be a difference in that rural environment, is you really don't have those revenue streams that you might have been used to in other economies. Does that make sense? You would have more experience than I have.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that. We're seeing some shifts right now after the pandemic, and as people are coming to the area with jobs already, they're working for larger companies remotely. But yes, absolutely. I mean, I think that's one of the trade-offs of living here, right? We can certainly earn higher incomes in a large metropolitan area. You come to a place like McCall and incomes, they're not as high. I certainly think it's worth it. But it does present some challenges, and it can be surprising for people when they come in and they're not used to having, two too large salaries, right? So sometimes it means you're gonna have to get less of a home than what you were initially thinking, or figure out ways to get into a better position to borrow money too.
Thank you. And Amber, thanks for coming tonight.
Absolutely.
When I originally invited Aana, she said, I've got a person that I need to bring because there's some things in these questions we're talking about that I've got a real solid voice in the answers. So thank you for coming and being a part of this. What should newcomers consider when looking for a bank in the McCall area?
I would just advise any newcomer in the McCall area or any area to really look at a bank itself or people within that bank that are willing to offer guidance. As Aana was saying, there are, there are resources. And so feeling comfortable to be able to walk into your community bank and ask the uncomfortable questions of how can I get help? How can I set myself up? How do I know where my credit's at? How do I get it better? Those can be uncomfortable conversations to have, mostly because when we're little, we don't get taught it. And as we're older, we're expected to know it, right? So to use your resources and to use your local bankers who, have that information and who are more than happy to help their customers. We are always looking at people's best interests. So being able to, help people and guide them along with that is really important to us.
Have the cookies arrived back at Idaho First?
We do have cookies back at the bank. They are packaged cookies, but we have cookies.
Yes.
I pretty well have.
They're not homemade, fresh cookies, but
I do business in almost all the banks in McCall for various reasons, and I always like your cookies best. So if the customer is looking for good cookies, or they definitely Idaho First
Thanks
is
for the
the reason that you would want to bank there.
Through all of the issues that we have stumbled across through COVID, I think not having cookies in our lobby was the biggest complaint that we received the whole time.
I am sure, because I tell you.
So those were a must. Those had to come back.
Significant.
Yeah.
Oh, did I cut you off? I mean, I'm just in that sense of they're going. If you were to sort of walk in, even in your mind, walking into the various banks in McCall, and then walking into your bank, I think there's a difference. Can you highlight what you sense is that difference for Idaho First?
I think that we are trained and we strive for that community feel. Everybody that works at Idaho First Bank right now is from McCall or has been here for a long time. So we are used to that welcoming, hey, Bob, how's your granddaughter? Hey, Karen, your son graduated. Like, how was it? Those are the conversations that we truly are interested in. And we get to know our customers and we're friends with them. And we see them outside of work often. And so we know a lot about their personal lives. And I think it makes that connection when you walk in the door that much stronger. And it makes you more comfortable, to bank there or lend there or have your money there when you know that people really care about you.
That's wonderful. It's got a downside to it as well.
Yeah.
When things are going poorly.
That's true.
In a customer's situation. And I don't know where this is going, but that's part of living in a small town.
It is. It is part of living in a small town. And it will
surprise someone from an urban environment that things that a banker in a city would never have known. And there's sort of an interesting range of knowledge that all of us glean from those folks that we encounter. And do you sense that that's more positive than a negative?
I think so. I think it's a little bit bittersweet. Nobody wants their hard falls or their stumbles or anything in their personal lives known. But living in a small town, a lot of people know things, and it's nice working for a bank where we can help people through their struggles and their hard times, and we can really work with our customers. We don't have to follow, a black and white rule all of the time. And because we know people and we know their situations, we can work with them. And I think that makes us different.
Help us in this one, Aana.
Yeah, just what you said, right? I think it works the other way too, right? Like we know these customers so well, and we care that when there is a stumble, we're going to do whatever we can to work through it together. And then if we do come out on the other side, and let's say we've had to take a piece of property back, we've done that. It does happen from time to time. It's hard, but there's never any judgment. I have a customer that I see all the time where we've been through that, and there aren't hard feelings. There's no judgment. I think you come through those relationships because they're in place already, and because they're people in our community. I think the care helps on both sides.
Yeah.
Really.
That's valuable. That's a really valuable asset that a rural bank like this one has to offer.
Yeah, I mean, to know that you have a bank that did everything that they could to help you keep something or to help you, stay in a good spot before it went downhill is more meaningful to some people, than just being like, oh, I was cut off at the very beginning. I couldn't make my first payment. I was done, to having someone, whether that happens in the end or not, knowing that they were there with you along the way to try and help.
You're not just transferred to like a special assets department where the person doesn't know you and they're going to do everything they can to recover and protect the bank. So
are the decisions in Idaho First made locally, or do they go? I mean, this is the administrative. I mean, it's almost sounds like an odd question to me now, because I've gone in so many banks, and you do your due diligence on a loan, and then it disappears to the major metropolitan area, and they have a completely different perspective. That's an interesting, valuable tool, is to know that the person is either across the room or they're upstairs when that decision is going to get made.
Yeah, we keep our decision making local. There are times based on size when we have to pull in somebody else, but basically the approval is ours, because that relationship and that accountability is so important. I might have to ask my chief credit officer to concur, and basically that's just to buy in on why I think this is an important relationship, or why this is our next step. And utilize her for guidance. But we absolutely, that's been one of our big internal taglines, is we keep our decision making local. We want to give our people the authority, because I think it preserves that relationship too.
Really valuable. Amber, let's try another question. That one went really well.
Yeah.
How can our banks help as housing becomes harder to attain in our area? You've got to be pretty good to get somebody to that goal. Help us to know how you're going to do that.
One of the biggest things is, like I said before, being able to feel comfortable enough to go into your bank and have those initial conversations about credit. Credit is so important, and it's where everything starts when it comes to lending. So being able to know, where you're at and how to achieve something in the future is really important and valuable. But also just knowing the specific programs that your bank offers is really important. We work with Idaho Housing and Finance Association, which is a company that offers like down payment assistance programs and home buyers education courses and loan programs for people that have lower credit scores. They created these programs to help people who are starting up, the first-time home buyers, be able to own homes. And those programs are testy to jump through the hoops. There's a lot more paperwork, and their regulations are a little harder to navigate through. But if you find an institution and a banker that's willing to navigate through those paths with you, it's definitely something that is positive. It's something that is available. So we do work with them. We do offer those programs. On top of that, Idaho First Bank right now is aggressively working towards offering a 30-year fixed rate mortgage as an in-house product. We do currently offer a 15-year, but the difference between a 15 and a 30 means double the payment per month. So we're working on rolling that out because the Idaho Housing and Finance, although they're super helpful, they do have purchasing limits that go with the conforming limit. So right now in our area, the conforming loan limit is $647,000. But the average person can't really find a house for $640,000 in our area. So the program that we're coming up with is to offer that 30-year fixed rate mortgage for something that is, the purchase price would be more than that.
Hmm. And I'm just sort of processing what it means to be, you have an in-house of 15-year and you're trying to bring 30 in here.
Yep.
Does that mean that you've sold all your 30-year mortgages and they're not an in-house and you're trying to do that? Is that what you're attempting?
We are. So currently right now, when we do our 30-year fixed rate loans, we are selling them on the secondary market. So we are taking those applications, we're working with our customers, and then when those loans sell, we speak with our borrowers about how, that transition looks. But that is what we're looking at doing, is trying to offer that in-house product so that we can make those local decisions and have a little bit more flexibility in-house on something that has a longer term than more than just the 15 years.
Because as someone who has experienced that, I find it quite frustrating that all of a sudden a company that you had no contact with or no awareness is now owns your house with you. And it's usually back east or somewhere very far away. And so then when you're trying to do something different, to be creative with your home, I found that difficult. So I'm thrilled that you're trying to bring those in-house and to allow a borrower to continue to work with you for anything up to 30 years to make that a positive experience. That's a wonderful.
Yeah,
That is
Wonderful.
really a standard process, and it's really because when the investors buy those loans, right? It's 30 years is a long time for a bank to hold a loan. Typically, they don't last that long, but still, right? If we put 30-year mortgages on our books and we don't sell any of those, we're going to run out of funds to continue to make loans in our communities.
That makes sense.
And the investors are also able to just offer the most
Better
competitive interest rates.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
So why wouldn't going in-house create problems for you on those same terms? That you would have less and less assets to lend if you're holding those 30-year mortgages?
it's really a solution we have to offer right now. So right now you can't even, getting a jumbo loan in the secondary market, so above that conforming limit of 674, we have very few investors that will buy them, for one thing. And so this really is a solution for us to try to help solve some of the housing issues in our area. It will utilize some of our funds, but we're constantly working to gather more deposits, and we have some room right now. So
Interesting.
it's always been, I feel like Idaho First Bank, it's always been, it used to be people first, community first, Idaho first. And I think that we really do our business off of that. And so we're trying to come up with any kind of solutions that we can to help our communities. And we know that the McCall community is struggling when it comes to housing. So we're willing to, take the risk and put a little bit more out there to help the people that live here.
So many of our newcomers are retirees coming to our area. I've seen the demographic growth on the retiree, and its numbers are going straight up. And our service sector is pretty well dropping off. And so that's the conundrum of our area. But many of these newcomers who are retirees might be interested in reversible loans. Is that a product you guys offer, or is that something that just it's going to take somebody else to deal with that?
Yeah, we don't currently offer that. It is a complicated loan. And it really has to be specific to an individual for it to be a positive thing. So looking into that and just making sure that it fits for those people. But it's not something that we currently offer because it doesn't fit it doesn't fit as many people as you would think it fits to be
And
helpful.
And you would be willing to talk about that with someone who came in as to what
Yep.
those narrow parameters are that makes that type of a loan successful.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Thank you so much. Well, Aana, what issues in business or personal finances tend to surprise our newcomers? Have you got some stories to tell of those surprises?
Not really. I mean, so Amber touched on credit, right? Credit really matters. It's really important. We do meet generally younger borrowers, right, that come in and don't know what their credit history looks like. And so like Amber talked about, coming in, finding a bank that will offer you some guidance so that you can really understand where your credit is and where you need to be before you need to borrow is a really good thing to do. But one of the things that we have seen, some people are surprised to know that not just their loan history, but their previous management of checking accounts or savings accounts, their previous banking relationship, that does follow you, right? So if you had unpaid overdrafts and you left a banking institution and then you moved to McCall and try to open a new checking account, haven't paid those, it can be very difficult to open a new account, very difficult to establish a banking relationship. Again, talking to your banker and understanding what some things are that you can do. A lot of times if you clear up those that derogatory record with the previous bank, then you can move forward and you can establish a new banking relationship. But just understanding that the way that you manage your accounts, not just loan accounts, but like a checking and savings account, it's important, that history.
Is there a centralized data stream of your management of your checking and savings as there is a centralized data to credit?
Yes.
There is.
Interesting.
Check
I was
systems.
not aware of that.
Yeah,
Yep.
a lot of people are not. But it does go back to,
Which is good. I mean,
it is good.
It is. Yeah.
people need to be responsible for their past, but I didn't realize.
Yeah.
And so you're not phoning the previous bank like someone might phone a previous landlord
Right.
to get information. You just have to go to a central repository.
Correct.
And
yeah.
all that information is there. Interesting. It would be wise to first of all realize that,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
work on it.
Right.
Yes.
And so you would expect that new customer to be quite forthright with you when it comes to previous problems in previous banks,
Yes.
yeah.
because you're going to know it anyway.
We're going to know it anyway.
You might as
Right.
well.
It just makes the conversation more awkward if it's not upfront to begin with.
It's true.
That's important?
It is important. Yeah.
And it's workable, but sometimes it does prevent you from establishing a new
Sure, especially
relationship. So
in the
That day.
pandemic, where there
Yeah.
was
That day.
so much disruption to people's lives, so much issues that accumulated through the pandemic
Right.
because of financial adjustments and shifts and problems.
yeah,
So-
but having that open conversation too, right? It's
Sure.
Again, using your banker as a resource, asking for some help. Hey, I have this situation. Maybe we can't help a new borrower today because of their credit, but we can give them some tools to get into a position to get there. Maybe someone has a huge overdraft at a previous bank and they're going to need to set up payments to clear that up. We can help them with that, and then we can get them into a position to come bank with us.
Isn't that wonderful? I'm always glad to learn things. I'm going to come back to you, Amber, and just say, can you summarize or add any key issues that you would like for newcomers or existing customers, but really our newcomers? What would you like for them to remember from our time together tonight? Amber, I'll let you answer that one.
I think just going back to that credit again, knowing that credit is just so important. I can't stress it enough to feel comfortable enough to go into your bank and talk about credit with whether it's your banker or your lender, but just knowing where you're at and knowing where you need to be, especially in the market that we're in right now. It's so competitive that if you're not where you need to be right now, then when you're ready to borrow, that can really hold you back. And so just putting yourself first and making those, stepping in and doing the grown-up things before they need to be done.
Sounds like a mom.
It's hard, but it's important. And just being extra patient. We have been really lucky with our staffing in the McCall branch. We haven't really had any struggles through the whole pandemic or through now with not being able to help our customers as much as we need to. But we could be in a position where that does happen or where people are sick that day, and just knowing we are a local bank, even though we're growing, we're small, and we take the extra time to have the conversations with people when they come in the door, and we have, those sentimental conversations a little bit as people are doing their bank business. So knowing, if I'm waiting in the lobby an extra 5 minutes, it's not going to ruin my whole day. Like they're going to get to me when they get to me, and just being patient and kind is important. Yeah.
Crucial.
We're all doing the best we can.
Yeah.
So
Aana, help us summarize or add any key issues that you want to make sure we're aware of from our time together.
Very similar to what Amber just said. I think sometimes people, I don't know where this image of bankers comes from, but I think people should really keep in mind that they should use their bank and their bankers for guidance. You don't have to go in and need something today. It's not necessary for you to apply for a loan or open an account. You can walk into your bank and just get some guidance. Again, I need a bookkeeper. Help me. I'm not very good at financial management. Can you walk me through something? I think just really utilizing bankers as an additional resource, and just ask questions, ask for guidance. I think we can't all know everything. So just almost utilizing bankers as experts on the financial side without having a loan application in or anything else, just to ask questions.
Oh my. Was there anything tonight that we missed? Was there anything that you'd like to amend? This has been live. Everything's out there.
Oh,
so
great.
you have to now to wake up at 2 in the morning and go, did I really say that? Is there anything you'd like to amend or adjust from our conversation tonight?
Not that I can think of.
I don't
Okay.
think so.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Good, because I really enjoyed it. You both have shattered my image of a banker.
Good.
You really have. As a person in their 60s, there's a way that banking has been done my whole life. And I'm thrilled that you have shattered that image because it's different than so many ways that I've grown up and the roles that bankers served in my life. And you have really opened my eyes, and I really appreciate it because
Well, thank you.
It is important that we realize that the changes have come and are coming to the banking industry. And I think both of you are wonderfully representing some of those changes that has been in that recent past, and represent those so well.
Well, thank you
And
very
so
much.
if there's nothing else you'd like to amend, I would just like to thank you. This is a busy season, and you're both busy with kids and families, and you've taken your time tonight to help us. And I really, really appreciate you doing that.
Absolutely.
And so, Aana, thank you.
Thanks
Amber,
for the opportunity,
thanks
Yes,
for
Bryan.
being
thank you,
a
Bryan.
part of this conversation. Well, thank you for watching our McCall College community conversation on discovering McCall and helping newcomers succeed. I really think we've helped tonight, and I look forward to some comments that flow out of our community as a result of some of the conversations we've had here tonight. I think they're really important, and finances are the base of so much of what we do. And having a banker that'll give you a cookie is really, really helpful. This series is sponsored by a grant from the Idaho Community Foundation's Burke H. Shelton and Gladys A. Pospisil Shelton Foundation, supporting Valley County And so we're pleased for that support, and also the Progressive Club, which we're thankful for, who have helped us in this series in helping us with equipment grants. The recordings of this series will be available on youtube.com/McCall College. And so you'll see that this will become the fourth conversation that we've had. And we'd really encourage you to go back and look at our first three conversations. There has been some wonderful suggestions for our newcomers to make life better for themselves and their families here in Valley County. And I trust you'll go through those conversations. And there will be some future conversations. Our next conversation will be in 2 weeks, and that will be June 23rd. There will be no conversation next week. We're on vacation. And so on June 23rd, Thursday at 7 p.m., we'll be talking to our brand new police chief, Dallas Palmer. And he'll be helping us with succeeding at police interactions. And there are so many opportunities that newcomers can stumble when it comes to police interactions. I know it will be a wonderful, really, introduction to Chief Palmer for so many of us, and it will certainly be an introduction to our newcomers, to one of our newest faces in the leadership of our community, and that's Chief Palmer. So I really hope you'll join with us, not next week, but in 2 weeks, June 23rd, and that's a Thursday at 7 p.m. Please invite your friends and especially any newcomers to watch this particular opportunity. Until next week, discover more about McCall and the wonderful West Central Mountains. I'm Dr. Bryan Williams, President of McCall College. Thank you for watching.